Hi everyone, I had a quick minute and I wanted to stop and discuss what I've narrowed down for Finish It February. In my last video, I had 8+ projects that I had just pulled out to organize. Um, I don't intend on working on all 8 of them, but I use Finish It February to see what is kind of outstanding and what needs to be done. Helps me kind of reorganize myself. Um, so I've narrowed down to 4 main projects, and then I always have a pair of socks in the works. Socks are generally the easiest things for me to just take with me. If we have to go to ballet or swimming lessons, or if we're out and about at a friend's house, I don't need a pattern. I can just work on the socks and do mindless knitting. Um, so I will go over the pattern or the items that I'm going to work on. My first one, mainly because it has a deadline of mid-March, is this auction, the cowl for the girls' school auction. I had to frog the entire project. The way the yarn was variegated, the pattern I was using was kind of getting lost in the variegated yarn. So I'm going to go with, I think, the Song of the Sea. I've used variegated yarn on that before, and it looks very nice because it's kind of a repeat of a wave going this way, and then it just gets smaller, where the one that I was originally hoping for does more of like this zigzag, and so it just got lost. So I'm going to work on that. I have to actually cast it on. I just set it aside because I was mad at the project. The next part will be the Taming Tension course. I got my swatches back for lesson 2, and I went through the write-up, made notes of where there were areas to work on so that I can keep working towards that. And then I have the instruction packet for lesson 3. I've read through that, kind of made my notes of what I want to do. And my hopes is to kind of do, um, I mean, I have done a swatch a night. I tend to make these swatches 2 or 3 times. I want the practice and I want to put my best effort forward. So I could do that, or I might do every other night. Swatches are very boring for me. It's, a little square, it's plain yarn. So it's not that intriguing to keep going, but I have a drive to kind of get the lesson done in February. The next one will be, I talked a little bit about this. I've reached out to a tech editor for my pattern, and I need to record myself doing and starting the crown decreases. I'm struggling to put in writing and clearly articulate the crown decreases because I'm doing it in a way that kind of tries to hide the crown decrease. But I had this Juniper Moon yarn, and it's beautiful. I've used this quite a bit. But I had a blue and it would have gotten lost. So I ended up getting a charcoal from my local yarn store to be the contrast color. So I will work on that. I don't necessarily need a full hat for it. So I'm going to do a little bit of ribbing and then start the crown decreases to record it. So, and then hopefully by end of February, send that off to tech editor to get everything finalized. I have most of the pattern charted and have the crown decreases written up. So I'm just hoping to kind of have their input to combine it and have a chart and a written pattern for those that serve both purposes. The last item, and I'm going to try not to become too political on this one, is the Melt the Ice hat. If you are aware of the events happening in the United States, there has been some activity that has caused a lot of uproar, stemming in Minnesota with some deportation efforts of ICE and people losing their lives. So um, I'm not going to get into how I feel politically about that, but I do feel a drive to make the Melt the Ice hat. When I was at my local yarn store getting the gray, I found this. It is Haiku Yarn, is the name, and then Riley is the line of yarn or whatever it is. It's finger and weight, so I'm going to hold it double. And I probably will actually be able to get 2 hats out of it. So I might make one of them for the auction. I don't know. But it's very nice. It's alpaca, silk, and linen, so it's very squishy. It's not the traditional like fire engine red. I could not find, I actually even went into Michael's and I could not find something that I liked for the fire engine red that wasn't like jumbo or chunky weight. I just wasn't going to knit something out of that. So that'll work. I actually had some red yarn and I don't know, like it's not that old of yarn, but I have never had this happen to me. As I was trying to do the ball winder, it could not handle any tension and it just snapped instantly. And I was like, what in the world? Like, what's going on? And I think it's because it's non-superwash Targhee, and Targhee is a very rustic yarn. It's very strong. I have it in some of my socks that have a little bit of nylon in them, but Targhee is very like, it's a very strong and rustic yarn. So, but I looked at the actual yarn and I think essentially what it was a very lightly plied yarn where it had a kind of light red and then a dark red, and they were lightly plied, but then very lightly plied together. So it wasn't quite roving like the Newton yarn that just like pulls apart, but it was not plied enough that it would like come off the umbrella swift without ripping. So I actually had to leave the hank on the umbrella swift and make it into a ball, and then I'll re-cake it and use it for something. But I am wanting to get that hat done. I will say that the events happening have weighed heavy on me. You know, Alaska has really high rates of human trafficking within our indigenous communities, and I was raised in very remote communities around Tlingit culture. I myself I am not Tlingit, but I have family that is, and was raised to love and respect the culture. And I have aunties and uncles that they're not related to me in any way, but I still have that respect, and their family, which is very much how Alaska Native cultures operate. It's a big tight knit family. So it weighs heavy on my heart that we are losing people, primarily women, to human trafficking, and it's weighing very heavily on my heart that these families are being torn apart due to these deportation efforts. So I am going to leave it at that. Taylor with the Wool Needles Hands channel did a beautiful, beautiful video on the significance of the Melt the Ice hat, and the historical context which it comes from. And I will link it in the description. I encourage you to watch the video. It did pull even harder on my heart, so I got a little bit emotional with it. But it is a very, very interesting video and very well done. Taylor has a way of articulating things in a very thought-provoking and engaging way. She's very eloquent with her words, and I struggle to do that. I am a numbers person, so I ramble a lot and am disorganized with my speech a lot of the time. So, but it was very also interesting because I find the using textiles as a method of communication on protest to be really interesting. You know, there has been events where there's kind of knit purl patterns that are Morse code, or very specific emblems being knit or woven into things to signal, you know, what side you're on, or pass messages in between, you know, battalions and things like that. So it's interesting to me, and that's the approach that I'm going to come at this, is that I'm kind of knitting kind of a fun historical project, and I can also share support the community in that front. So the purchases of the pattern, um, yeah, I think it's a $5 pattern. It goes towards helping folks that have been deported or detained with legal services, and I'm happy to do so. But we'll see how far I get. It's funny, I have the drive to kind of do all four of these things at once, and I have to just narrow down to what is the most important and what are my biggest desires. So I'll kind of rotate between the two. Like the cowl is really, really significantly important to me because I have to get it done by March. And I really, really want to knit the melt the ice hat. So I'll probably kind of work between both of those, and then take some time to do the crown decreases, because that I could do, and you know, do a little bit of ribbing and then start recording the crown decreases, and then that can just go off to the tech editor. So all right, well, I appreciate everyone taking the time to listen to me babble, and I hope everyone is having a wonderful February and you are staying warm. Have a great one. Thank you for joining me.